Yeah. How long, because I want to talk about the process briefly of you writing that book because it's just so complete and so well-rounded. How long did it take you to write it, and what did you learn about yourself in that process?
Awesome. Well, I been time tracking, I think that I would have a better answer for you for how long it took me to write. I could probably quantify it in the number of skipped family meals or order out that we had to do that like, hey, Dad, why don't you go get the bag of burgers from Arctic Circle because I'm having a chapter I want to work on. The process was really interesting for me because this is my first book and I didn't want to, I wanted to be able to get it out to the world. And I knew if I would have started like page one, that I would have come to a wall pretty quickly. And I want to encourage anybody who is considering writing to maybe see if the process that I took might be helpful for them. So instead of starting at the beginning, I just took a vignette, something I knew that I wanted to share in the book. And I didn't know where it was going to fall in line yet, but I had words and things I wanted to express based on an experience. And so I just started there. And maybe where I started ended up being like chapter 12 or chapter 14. I wasn't, I wasn't stopping to think, where is this going to fit in the book? It was just a principle I knew I wanted to share. And so I kind of was able to start and continue based on like, oh, and then there's this experience. This is a really good one. And I want to be able to incorporate this. And then just write these vignettes and then step back, take a look at the order, rearranging the vignettes to have some sort of sequential purpose, but not necessarily like because you can skip around. So being able to do it that way was really helpful. So I didn't have to fixate on like, oh, is this strong enough of a beginning? Or is this, that can kind of, that the beginning and the ending are sometimes difficult. And if you start at the most difficult part, you lose some of your momentum. So, and then another thing that I did was each chapter has the same template, if you will. And I kind of discussed that earlier, like, you know, a story, a principle, a practice. And then at the end of each section, as you notice, like there was quotes from others. There was a section called Insight of God. There was a section on your education, that's EDYOUCATION, where they're learning about themselves. That's where your challenge comes in. And then one last section about how you might be able to teach others to develop confidence. And so having that basic template for each chapter made it almost easy for me to drag and drop, if you will, from my brain onto the pages, the rest of that book.
Yeah, I can see that. So it sounds like you wrote a lot of it kind of based on what you were inspired at the moment. Did you actually set daily writing, say, I'm going to write for 1 hour, 2 hours a day, or did you really kind of wait until the inspiration struck you and then you sat down and started putting it on a page?
For my particular personality, the latter worked well for me. Mm-hmm. And I would wait. I mean, I had conscious deadlines that I wanted to make. And I knew that I would need to make those deadlines, but I would wait until I'm like, I am ready, so that I wasn't pulling it out of me, but I was allowing it to come out. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these things like that sound spontaneous, but there are things that I have been teaching over the last 10 years. And there's also things that in the moment I was like, this is the perfect example of this principle. And it just came. And so there were nights where it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden I get the bug to get something out, regardless of the fact that I typically go to bed at that time.
Yeah.
And you asked me earlier about what I learned. Yeah, you asked me what I learned about myself through this process, and I realized I didn't answer it. That was very politician-like of me, so I apologize. What I learned about myself from this experience is that continual exercise of the muscle is I didn't know how to do this before, and then I did it anyway, and I've been really grateful for the fruits of the harvest, and it just encourages me to do the same thing in other aspects of my life.
Yeah, and it becomes, you become a different person than when you went in, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. And it brings a lot of joy. One of the reasons why it brings so much joy is because then the circle of friends and influence I have, it's easy for me to encourage them to do the same because I know I have tools to help them. But also like with my own children, I have a son, his name is actually Writer, and he's an exceptional writer. And now I think he knows that that's completely possible in his life.